All right, everyone. We're hit the 8 o'clock hour. So that means we are very happy to introduce Scott Johnson. I want to... He's done a lot more stuff than I could probably name, but you probably know him from such shows as The Instance, The Morning Stream, and plenty of other things. His lovely wife is also sitting over here. She got me a bottle of water at BlizzCon a few years ago. So, without further ado, Scott.
Hello. So, weird. I'm not used to hearing my voice like this. Except in headphones, it's funky. Dills and Terpster may still show up. Patrick's in France, so we're not going to see him. Probably playing Overwatch until the wee hours of the night over there. He should be asleep, but he's probably not. If those other two chuckleheads show up, they will be here. We'll talk to them. I don't know. We are all spread very thin tonight with very different responsibilities, as it turns out. And oh my gosh, is that Dills? No, that's not Dills. Okay, never mind. These are the old ones. So, sorry, man. You look like Dills walking in. It's a compliment. You weren't asleep on your stream, so I wasn't. That's how we knew. So anyway, if they show up, that'd be great. If not, we'll soldier on. And this is gonna be an interesting experience for me because we traditionally at BlizzCon do a instance episode that wraps up the entirety of BlizzCon weekend, but we usually do that on Saturday, which we will still plan on doing. And as usual, we have so little planning in place that we don't have a time to tell you yet. Or any of that. We can tell you a place. Tomorrow the AIE Guildhall will set up shop here on the 4th floor again. And is it the same place as last year? Okay. So it's usually a little standing only kind of situation, but everyone's welcome to pop in and catch that and just watch Twitter feeds and things like that, and you'll find out the times that we're doing it. And all three of us will be there for that. Plus possibly some very special guests. Now last year I know I tempted everybody with one that ended up not being able to because of a commitment, but I think we may have him this year. So I don't want to say who it is. If you were there last, oh, I did say, didn't I? All right, Chris Metzen may come to the thing. Thanks for reminding me, Ro. So I've been, it's been a very interesting day getting here and kind of settling into the groove again and seeing everybody, and as exciting as all of that is, it is a reminder of how rad, and I'm sure you've heard this a lot tonight from other people. I meant to get here early and I got stuck in that Wowhead party, which was a little bit of a cluster upstairs. And I wasn't able to get here early to catch some of the other stuff. So I know it's been said before, but I'll reiterate it even if it has. I don't know what it is, but there's a secret sauce in the Blizzard system, the ecosystem that provides us as a community with so much stuff to do and talk about and think about. And I love that. And this is a weird year, though. This is the weirdest year, really, ever. Not just BlizzCon-wise. We'll see how weird it is tomorrow and Saturday, I guess, because it could get pretty weird. But it's weird in the sense that we're now primarily, or what we used to be primarily focused on, was a 11-year-old game called World of Warcraft. And 11 years later, it's harder and harder to find the kinds of information or the kinds of constant news flow or the kinds of things that get players excited that we used to get. And I think it's just the natural state of the way these things go. And I think Blizzard's aware of this. And I think there's no surprise that they've got all these other IPs brewing. Good games, interesting games that appeal to different sensibilities, in some cases to some of the same sensibilities. I can't get enough of Heroes right now, and I think it's partly because they've provided, while it may be a MOBA, what they provided for me is more of a game that feels like I'm raiding with friends in 20-minute increments. And we're still having to not step in the poop. We're still having, to do all the things we're used to doing, well, mostly me in raiding, staying out of the poop. But we're doing it in this really interesting new way. And so they're filling that need in some ways with something new and fresh there. And this Overwatch beta is unbelievably good. And I'm a huge shooter fan. I've played him for years. And so now there's this new great thing to do. And there's a new StarCraft expansion coming out, and we hope some Diablo announcements tomorrow. And so many projects going on at the same time. I don't think it's any surprise that that's true. This isn't the Blizzard of 2008 anymore, where they have one juggernaut game, and they're the World of Warcraft company. Now they're the lots of genres company. And I don't think we're done here. I think there's other stuff on the horizon, either other takes on existing IPs or brand new stuff in the vein of Overwatch or whatever. So all of that being said, it makes for just a really interesting time. I was talking to Pat Crane today from CTR, and he and I were in the meet and greet room with a bunch of devs, and we had this conversation about nobody's love has waned for the game of World of Warcraft. We've just been doing that MMO and then all of its copies because everyone wants to be Blizzard and everybody wants to make a Blizzard game. We've been playing those for 10 years now, and none of those have held up or done what we want them to do as compared to WoW. We all go back to WoW. We'll continue to do that. We're all excited about Legion. I'm very excited about Legion, actually. And some of the stuff I'm hearing pre-tomorrow sounds really interesting to me. So all of that being said, it's a much broader thing. And so the instance has seen a really interesting transition in the last little while. We've always been a show open to talking about whatever. In 2007, when they announced StarCraft 2, or it was Diablo, I don't remember, we talked about it. When those games came out, we talked about them. What we're finding, though, is that we are really loving everything they're doing, and it's very hard not to talk about them. So our show is seeing a transition, CTR is seeing a transition. I know a lot of you in the WoW podcasting community have felt some of that as well. I just wanted to say this about that. There's a tendency to feel like that's a bad thing or that we are coming to the end of some kind of era, and I do not agree. I think what brought us together in the first place was an incredible game that sprouted a pretty incredible community, or at least a subset of that community. And now we're all friends doing lots of diverse things together. And that is always positive. And I also think it's a net gain for podcasters and those covering these games and trying to create this content. They have rad stuff to talk about. And while we may have to adjust and things may be a little bit different moving forward, and we may have some melancholy about what used to be in World of Warcraft, whether that's deserved or it isn't deserved, it's still going to be a feeling out there. I see this all as really positive stuff, and I see what the company doing as very positive stuff, very forward-thinking, just strong momentum. It's a way for them to stay strong and relevant well after Warcraft has left its footprint, whenever that may be. And that still seems like a long ways off. And I have a feeling, I was talking to Corey Stockton about an hour ago, and he said to me that, because I was bringing up some of this stuff, and he said, well, I think you're going to be really surprised tomorrow. And he didn't say it as a PR answer, and he didn't say it as any of those things. He made it sound like there's some things about Legion tomorrow we're going to be super stoked to hear about, that there were major things that were not talked about at Gamescom that we might hear about tomorrow. And that's exciting on the World of Warcraft front. But man, isn't it great that we can raid and we can hang out and we can do all that stuff in WoW, and we get this new expansion, but I can also get into Heroes and skirmish with 5 of my friends and have a really good time. And then whoever has the beta, and I'm so sorry if you guys don't have the beta to Overwatch yet. I'm really sorry. Who has it? If you can raise, this may have happened earlier today. Oh, that's it? That's enough for a team. Let's go. That beta is really good, and I hope one of the things we hear tomorrow is that a much broader base of players will get to play it. I know it's all my son Nick can talk about. That's all he wants to think about and do is get his hands on Overwatch. And if these leaks that we heard today are true about it being just a straight up $60 game, that's a straight up video game, you guys. That's a video game you pay money for. That is not some free to play thing. That is not some buy characters every month. That's none of that. We got that in other places. We got Hearthstone, we got Heroes, they've got their free-to-play thing going. They may have other projects in the future, but it sounds like from those leaks today, and we'll see tomorrow if any of them are true, that 3 things are going to happen. Unless anyone doesn't want to hear these spoilers. Does anyone not want to hear these spoilers? Has anyone heard these leaks? Listen, as a podcaster, I have become sensitive to spoilers, all right? All right, fine. 2 weeks. TMS in the house. Oh, and Brian Ibbott's here this weekend, so you guys should find him and say hi when you see him. Anyway, so if those rumors are true, $60 price point, consoles for sure, both of them, not just exclusive on one or the other. I think that was obvious from the controller settings in the PC game showing a controller option, because who in their right mind would do that on the PC version? You just get yourself murdered. But on consoles, great. That sounds great. Everybody's on the same playing field and whatever. So that seems obvious. And then the other leak today was that the first Heroes of the Storm character from that universe will indeed, and I may have called it, is Tracer. Everyone called it. But I'm going to just take credit for it. Patrick's not here to rub that in. But it seems that seems like a smart move. It seems like the right character. It seems like we'll probably see Winston or somebody else after that. And I'm very excited for that because I'm a huge Heroes fan. So, because we have very little to go on to make predictions about what WoW is going to be until 2 days' time, and where all our hearts are going to be for Legion in a couple weeks' time. Hey, Russell's not with you, is he? Okay. All right. Sorry. Thought Russell Brower was going to walk in. Long story. Anyway, so what was I saying? Oh, so it's hard to say what all of that's going to be. We're excited to hear about it. But I want to talk about Heroes for a minute, okay? John, come up here for a sec. So John, who you just heard from before I got here. There you go. Have a seat with your big blades. That is the coolest thing in the bag, isn't it? Yeah, that's pretty rad. There you go. Artanis is pretty good. So 5 episodes ago, John and I and Bo Schwartz decided to start a podcast about Heroes called Core. And has anyone heard Core yet? Okay, good. That's a good number. The rest of you should check it out if you like Heroes of the Storm at all. If you don't, I wouldn't bother, because it is very Heroes of the Storm, right?
It's definitely Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, that's all we talk about.
Although there was one time we started to talk about WoW, and I thought, well, this is a strange twist.
In fact, I remember you bringing that up. Yeah, it's really, really been a passion the last few weeks to do that show, and it reminds me of the early days of the Instance when we were so stoked about this relatively new thing, and getting to the meat of it and just chewing it up and talking about it all the time and discussing strategies and stuff. So we're at that stage with that game. But I wanted to talk about, because we can do this, and this is a great environment for this, because I'm not like I have to moderate a conversation with Craig Amai and Dave Cossack tomorrow at 2:45. Is that right? At the
Ro,
Dark Moon Fair.
you
Ro
rock,
knows
man.
everything.
Yes.
Hey Siri, Ro. Yes. Anyways, we're not going to get a chance to discuss things like what I'm about to bring up, and I want John here to help me discuss this, and that's this. So, MOBAs in general, but Heroes of the Storm in our context, provides 3 things that we're used to getting in a much longer form. So, like, if I wanted to progress through a leveling system, I might need 60 levels, and it might take me months to do that. If I wanted to compete with my friends against sort of mechanics in a PvP or PvE environment, that meant I needed to raid. That meant I needed to be capped out, and I needed to be watching my gear score and all this stuff. If I wanted to have 5 of my friends go up against 5 other people, we'd have to have like a 5-man arena team or something. My point is that this game seems to take all of those things and compresses them in a way, but brings them all to bear in a way that is like, hey, John, let's have a quick game. Call Bo. We'll play right now, and we can be done in an hour, sometimes longer. But we're playing, 2 or 3 games. We're having a great time. We're laughing our heads off. We're losing some. We're winning some. I used to think that Blizzard, with all these new games, weren't going to theoretically cannibalize World of Warcraft or their own player base. And as much as I love Heroes, I worry that they're doing that a little bit. So I just want your take on that.
I kind of feel it too. And I think for me, the defining moment was a couple weeks ago, months ago. We were playing with Ro. And he told us at the end of our match that he had to go because it was raid time.
Wait, we're on the same raid team, though.
We are all on the same raid team. And our response.
Well, are we, though? Are we now?
Our response to Roe was, "Oh, raiding, what's that?"
Now, we didn't, listen, I want to make this clear. We didn't say that with the tone of, we don't want to spend time with our friends and hang out and laugh, because I love this raid team. They're so much fun to be with and all of that. But what I immediately thought was, boy, wouldn't it be great if we were all over here doing this right now?
Yeah, call them up. Hey, guys, we'll do a custom game.
Yeah.
Us versus you.
Now, the funny thing is, I don't feel like we say this and it sounds like, oh, well, that just means these guys, their love has moved about that. Like, if anything, Blizzard's made my life harder because I want all these things and I don't have time for all of them all the time. I'd love to be working on some Season 4 stuff in Diablo right now.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I'd like to also shoot people in Overwatch.
Yeah, you look at Overwatch and it's like, okay, well, there's 2 of my friends. And then you look at Heroes and you say, okay, there's 3 of my friends. And then you look at WoW and you're like, all right, that's a big number. I have a lot of friends still playing WoW. And then you think, well, but I could just play Diablo real quick and maybe that ring will drop and that'll be good. There's so much that it's hard to decide. And in fact, I probably shouldn't say that I haven't played that much of the Overwatch beta because people might get mad about that.
I won't judge you. You're fine. They'll be mad because they don't have keys.
But the truth is, I have not because I want to play with my friends. That's the best part. That's the best part of Heroes. That's the best part of Overwatch. That's the best part of WoW, is getting in with your friends, getting on Skype, TeamSpeak, whatever you use, and just laughing it up and having a good time. And that is the itch that Heroes of the Storm has been scratching for me, because it's so quick and easy. We don't have to say, okay, I need to set aside these 2 nights, 3 hours every night. Instead, we say, okay, we'll play for 20 minutes, and then we play for 5 hours. And that seems to work out really well.
For Golden XP, it's working out great.
Yes.
No, that's my point, I guess. Since all of these games, and Blizzard knows this, I mean, the StarCraft expansion, for heaven's sakes, has you both running the same army. Archon mode is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But why? Well, they want to have more people playing together. That's an interesting co-op experience that didn't exist in the game, and it's not as much about competition. And of course, you know, two people can square off against 2 other people, so there's still that competition. But all of their games seem to circle around the idea that we need to be playing more with friends. So, by a raise of hands, is Blizzard cannibalizing their own player base, or does none of that matter? Who thinks they're cannibalizing?
Raise your hands.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess one hand for the one answer.
Let's
Do
make
you guys
this.
think, who thinks they're cannibalizing their player base for real? And then walk up to the mic and tell me why. And no judgment here. I probably should tell you before you do it, but I'm very interested to hear that take, because I'm really torn on it.
Well, the thing I know about that is a lot of our friends and guildies in an old guild who were sort of on the fence, still playing WoW, still raiding, maybe played League of Legends and things like that on the side. As soon as Diablo 3 had seasons and Heroes of the Storm was out of the beta and they had it, they basically just all dropped WoW to do the things that they didn't have to have the time commitment for anymore.
Okay, well that's a pretty good argument for that's cannibalization. I mean, it doesn't hurt them because they're getting people to play their games either way, right? Although you could argue if you played Heroes purely free to play and you never spent a dime, then Blizzard's at a net loss because they were at least getting $15 a month for the WoW subscription.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, it would be nice. I've spent more. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. Yes, Ro.
So one thing I would add is there are plenty of people who play World of Warcraft because they just like World of Warcraft. They like the universe of Azeroth. They like the lore and the story of what is happening in Azeroth. and maybe they don't necessarily want to go to Sanctuary. I mean, to them, Azeroth, there's someone who made a tweet, and I'm trying to remember who, said that sometimes we get so nostalgic about the old days of WoW, more so because we remember what our lives were like back then, and that's one reason why we get so nostalgic. But that nostalgia is a real thing, and it's something that just anchors us to that specific universe. So for some people, when games like Heroes comes out, when Overwatch comes out, they may be fun and exciting games, but to some people, they just don't feel like home. And Friends is a big part of making a place feel like home, but it's also not everything to some people. For some people, friends and being around others is all you need. For others, it's more about the world rather than who they're in the world with.
That's an interesting point too, and it's hard for me to think of WoW without thinking about that aspect of home. So if I go to Duratan, arguably the ugliest zone in the game, I have a lot of happy feelings about that place. Like, it's where I was, it's where Gerp was raised. Well, there's a story actually that he was raised in Thousand Needles, but I won't get into that. I have some really cool fan fiction about my character and his tiger. I'm not telling you now. But I wrote it down somewhere, someplace. But yeah, I'll always think of those things. Thousand Needles, for example, before it got dumped with water, is one of my favorite places to spend time. And still to this day, the idea of that place just gets me excited. In fact, I'm sad I can only go there and see it all buried underwater.
Yeah, it's become Lake Powell now.
Yeah, which is great. I like Lake Powell, but imagine
It's
Lake
all
Powell
right.
with no water.
Yeah, there you go.
Just imagine that. Todd, you have some thoughts?
Yeah. Would we be having this conversation if it weren't just that Blizzard makes good games? If instead of Overwatch, if it were Team Fortress 3 that were drawing first-person loving players away from WoW, would we call it cannibalizing, or would we just say, hey, they made a great game over there that people are going to go play?
That's a good point. Like on the 11th or 10th or whatever it is, no one's going to say, oh no, here's Fallout 4 cannibalizing StarCraft 2, which comes out the same day. StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. So you're absolutely right. I think that there's something about the reason Overwatch is good and not just another shooter. And I really think this, and maybe some of this is my own bias toward Blizzard games, but it has that same level of polish. There's backstory without there being any. It just feels deep and rich and thick, and everything about that game screams quality, and it screams polish, and it screams finished, and even in a beta stage like this. And because I get that from Blizzard, I mean, could I go have a good time in TF2? Yes, I could. Plenty of people are right now, in fact. I'm sure there are many Steam players right now playing TF2, and I love TF2. It was a great game. But this is better than that. It's a lot better than that. And that says a lot, because I think TF2 is a pretty awesome game. And I don't know that there's even Overwatch without TF2. In other words, once again, this is a Blizzard iteration upon many great ideas that have come before. It's like going from the Diamond Rio to the iPod. There's a reason why everybody quit buying Rios. But I know, right? See how old that sounds? Or the Creative Labs Nomad. Do you remember the Nomad?
Oh yeah. I wanted one for some reason.
You didn't. You thought you did.
I thought I did.
Yeah, but that's my point, is Blizzard has that same ability to kind of swoop in and go, all right, we're going to take a thing that kind of exists already that we're all sort of into here. Like I was talking to one of their lead devs today in that room upstairs, and he said, I'm a huge Call of Duty fan. I love it. Most of the guys on my team don't like it. They're more Quake and Unreal guys, but I love Call of Duty. And what you're seeing there is a lot of other influences influencing a game that then has all that special Blizzard sauce in it, whatever that intangible thing is. And maybe we're just all suckers for it. There's plenty of Blizzard haters out there, as we all know. We all get emails, right? Who knows how many are in my inbox right now going, WoW sucks, and you should quit this, and blah. Not interested. Yes, go ahead.
This is actually interesting because instead of shouting at my car dash, I can actually talk to you directly.
Yeah.
I was actually going to bring a counterpoint. WoW's always had those droughts where you get kind of burned out of the content, and even Ghostcrawler would say, go play something else then and come back, because we know you're going to.
Sure.
But it's almost like Blizzard's kind of gotten smart, and it's like, well, let's give them something to do when they're getting burned out of WoW. Because like we were talking about on the plane over, they seem to release content for their games in a staggered way. So it's like season 4 comes out and I'm just pounding that, and then right as the time I'm getting a little burned out, a new character comes out in Heroes, you know, or something like that, and I find myself rotating, you know, through the games. Not so much StarCraft 2, but soon that's coming right around the corner. You know what I mean? It just feels like, you know, by the time I'm getting burned out of that, Legion will probably, you know.
I agree. I think that there's that's a valid point, and not only that, they're giving us really compelling things to do. The big question is whether or not those will keep us from WoW when it rolls around again. I don't think so. I think Legion's exciting, and we're all stoked about it, and we're going to get it, and we're going to play it. But I think that they know like we know. They're not dumb up there. They see what happens. They've seen the pattern. Thing gets released, real popular for a little bit. People get bored or they get tired or whatever. And at 11 years into it, with roughly the same engine, roughly the same mechanics, roughly the same kinds of things that you do all the time, you can dress it a billion ways. But in the end of the day, it's kind of the same. And for some of that's all we want, and that's fine. And just keep bringing us that. But
Well, look how silly we got over Malthael's charger.
oh yeah,
That's the least amount of sleep I've ever had in my life. Trying to get a horse.
yeah. A horse to a guy that I don't think needs a horse.
He doesn't have a horse. I will tell you right now, Malthael does not have a horse.
The angel of death. To me, it just seems dumb. Like, well, you come floating in going, I'm here to kill it. Hold on a minute, I got to tie the horse to the thing. Okay, now I'm going to kill the Nephilim. It's like, it's a little too real. It's like parking your car or something.
4 horsemen.
Very good. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. But anyway, yeah, it's way to go. But I think you're right. They're giving us other things to do. The question, there's probably a balance there where they're trying not to make it so compelling. I don't know. See, how hard must that be? Because you've got a team that wants to make the best MOBA in the world, the best shooter in the world, the best RTS in the world. By doing that, you're potentially taking people away. The problem is what we want to make sure they're always doing is making the best RPG I can play with my friends in the world. And if that stays WoW, if that is World of Warcraft, then one would hope that they have a plan to do that. They know that this dip is happening. They know they hit 5 million subscribers when a year ago they had 10 million again. I mean, they know they're half off. Like, nobody's telling them anything new when they hear that, and they see the servers. They know what it's doing. So what I hope is happening with that early Gamescom reveal, I hope it means the sped up development cycle, so that I can come in, get the most out of it, get out and be distracted by these other things, get back into a new expansion quicker than I would normally, not these 2-year cycles. Then WoW becomes more constant, more interesting, and I wouldn't be shocked if that's the plan. I have no idea, though. Yes?
First of all, if you wanted a spot for that fan fiction that you've got written, you could always try the LFRP podcast. We're taking stuff all the time.
Are you really?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
We'll read it on the air.
Will you really?
Yes.
Okay, I took real care writing that. It's real good.
I can voice it for you myself. I'd walk it through.
It's a story of how he met Henry. It involves pirates. It's awesome.
Hold on. You said you'd
Everything's-
voice it?
I do.
Can we hear your GURP?
Give me a GURP, my hunter.
His orc.
An orc hunter?
Yeah, the orc hunter.
What sort of hunter is he?
He's he keeps to himself. He's a little gruff. Likes to be a lone ranger.
Very down here, I expect.
See? Wow,
That's
you sound
good.
like Metzen. That was
That's real
amazing.
good.
Thank you.
Sheesh.
Thank you.
Also, the thing. Sorry.
That was really
Threw
impressive.
you off your game.
Anyway,
I'm sorry.
you got a deal, by the way. Just send me an email and remind me. Oh yeah, this will be good. Nice. I was not prepared. All right, thank you very much. That's awesome. Totally going to do that.
Now, the question that I have is, in your experience, okay, my fiance has cycles. I've noticed this with her. She'll be in WoW for... Thank God she didn't hear that!
Go on.
Yes.
Her gaming tastes have cycles.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Are the two linked?
Because I had heard
Possibly.
something was familiar about this.
Her gaming tastes have cycles.
Okay, all right.
And there are periods where she'll be in WoW for a while. There are interims where she'll try something else. I've got more business cards if anybody wants to email me. but they're
Do you have a lot of frustration? Frustration. I meant frustration.
yes, that's.
I'm
unrelated.
sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
oh gosh, I can take it. No, in any event, gamers do seem to have cycles where they're in and out. They're getting shorter, I find, especially with my girl. She'll be in Worm Online or Star Wars: The Old Republic or something else for like a period of maybe a couple of months, and then she's back out.
Yeah.
In your experience, anecdotally, I understand, but can you look at a friend and say, okay, yeah, they've been out a while for this amount of time, they've been doing something else, they're starting to get bored, and they're probably going to be coming back?
Well, part of the problem is, in theory, we're aging. The core audience for WoW is aging out of it, or aging with it, not out of it necessarily. Maybe they always want to be with it, but they're aging with it. They're 11 years older than they were 11 years ago. My son was 5. He's 15 now. Think of that. Oh my gosh. Anyway, and because that's happening, there's a real concern. Like some of the community guys keep teasing me that I need to make sure that my kids are the next generation of Blizzard aficionados, enthusiasts, because we're getting older and WoW is not as important to the younger generation. They want to play Minecraft, or they want to play League of Legends or something else. Right. I think they're conscious of this. It may just be, and I hate to say this because I don't want it to be true, but it may just be the MMO as we know it is no longer going to have the legs that it had for 11 years. That may, and plus some if you count EverQuest and everything, Anarchy Online, everything came before it. Maybe, just maybe, there's a whole new generation who thinks that a progression-based RPG is levels 1 through 20 in 20 minutes time with a bunch of unlockable traits, and when you're done you can start over and go again, aka a MOBA. Maybe that's what they think it should be, and I think maybe that's okay. Like, there are people who looked at WoW when it came out and said, Fisher-Price RPG, too easy, death means nothing, blah, blah, blah. You remember all that, right?
Oh,
that was
yes.
a dumb time. Yeah. And but are we any different when we look at a kid who's completely obsessed with Minecraft mods or with League of Legends or something else and saying, well, you should see the kind of adventure we have in our MMO. But maybe we're just aging out of it. And I'm not, again, this maybe just goes to why Blizzard is making other things. They're interested in keeping that alive and making that a thing, but these kids coming up, half of them don't know what World of Warcraft is. It's not the cultural icon for them at age 8 to 15 that it was for us, or is for us.
So the cyclical nature of games is something that seems to affect older gamers, whereas the younger gamers are completely on a different track.
Well, they just do new stuff to do, right?
They're on a different cycle. They jumped on the train at a different point. We need to change our terminology for this whole discussion because
We really do. We really do.
It's not hard to take them seriously though with these on at all, is it?
This was
Not at all.
this was a really good idea. I'm feeling real positive about this, and at no point have I regretted it.
Have you yelled any iconic Artanis words or phrases?
No, because I forgot it.
I did too.
I will tell you.
I
This,
don't
though.
know you. But
I will
that's the
tell
wrong
you
one.
this though, Scott. I know how dumb this looks. But
All
I
right.
have never felt cooler.
Okay. Best cosplay in this room right now. This guy right here.
Don't suppose you could cross the swords for us?
Yeah, do it. Oh wait, that's dangerous though, isn't it? To cross them.
Are you not
Oh, it's
supposed to do
Ghostbusters.
that?
It's Ghostbusters. Yeah, that looked
See,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, that was all right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now your shield will pop and you'll never die.
that's right.
All right. Some Heroes Insider stuff there. Go ahead.
You talk about all of these other Blizzard products cannibalizing the core Warcraft player base, but do you think for Blizzard as a company that's necessarily a bad thing?
No, because they're staying home. By home, I mean Blizzard. Like, in a way, it's great for them because, part of the reason I'm interested in everything Blizzard ever makes is because every game they've ever given me was great. I've never had a bad time. I'm terrible at Hearthstone, but I still admit it is a great game. But I'm bad at it, so I don't play it very much. But if I was good at that game, boy howdy. But right now, I'm just kind of bad at it, so I don't play it. But I admit, good game. All right, just want to make that clear. People think I'm a hater. I'm not. I think Hearthstone's great. The point is that you're right. They're shuffling the deck, but they're shuffling them back and forth between their own properties to faithful, loyal Blizzard players. Now, some are just going to jump ship the minute they feel like they've jumped the shark, or WoW got too easy after Cataclysm, or whatever weird, arbitrary sort of complaint people have had about the game over time. But they've made those decisions not because they wanted to make things easier for us. They've made those decisions to make it so the game is more accessible by more people. And at some point, that doesn't even take them further. At some point, you still half your subscribers in a year's time. And this is a company who's not used to nailing it every time, right? You could argue they didn't nail it with Warlords. They did it first. Remember how much we just, we
It was
loved
good.
Warlords.
It's the most fun leveling I've ever had.
Yeah, I
in WoW.
loved it. That stuff, they nailed it. And I'm super jazzed to talk to Craig and to Dave tomorrow, because they're going to talk about that. It's kind of their job, is that part of the progression. Because I hope there's more of that kind of quality in this next one. But the point is, if they're gonna take away from this strong, huge base of World of Warcraft players, the one-time 12 whatever million people, and spread them a little bit over here to their new MOBA, a little bit over here to a shooter, a little bit over here to whatever, then I don't think that's bad for them at all, and I think that's why this whole strategy is happening. So again, I say that it's not bad that they're cannibalizing their own base, because that's a silly thing to think.
Well, and let's look at it this way. One thing we have talked about a lot is, man, wouldn't it be cool if we could appear offline on Battle.net, and then we wouldn't have to feel guilty every Thursday and Sunday at a specific time when all of our friends are in a different game?
You mean 11 p.m. Eastern? Is that when?
Yeah, that'd be it.
All right.
But the reality is you can't appear offline. So when you are in Battle.net and you check your friends list and you see, oh, look, there's 3 people in Diablo. There's people in StarCraft. There's people playing Overwatch. I hate them. You go down the list and you see it. You want to be a part of that. And I think there's actually something very smart about not being able to hide that you are in the Blizzard ecosystem playing. Because I might log in and say, you know what? I'm going to play Heroes. Oh, nobody's on. Oh, but there's 3 people in Diablo. I'm going to jump in Diablo and we'll run some rifts. That sounds good. And I think that keeps it as not so much I'm a fan of this game, but I'm a fan of the culture and the worlds they build and everything they do. And I think it's one of the smarter things that Blizzard does.
Yeah. And following each other around, like he's saying. I can see that he's in a game that I'm like, I haven't played Diablo in a while. Let's see what he's doing. Let's run some rifts. Like, that's a great thing to be able to do with friends who, admittedly, they need to be kind of versed in all the games or the games you like. So if he's in Hearthstone, I'm like, forget it. I'm going to solo queue in Heroes. See you later. But if, I see him in Heroes and I'd rather play Diablo, it swings the other way when I see my friends are someplace. I'm like, yeah, I could do that tonight. And in WoW, it's like, well, do I feel like raiding for 2 hours? No. I want to feel that way again. I hope I can feel that way again soon. I will with this new expansion. I always do. This is the pattern. I think we all have it to some degree. I can't imagine that everybody is 100% on 11 all the time with every expansion from top to bottom until there's a new one.
So you would say that your desire to play Warcraft is based on its content release?
Yeah, I think so.
And inevitably there's going to be a lull between content releases, just because of development time.
Yeah.
At which point, you find yourself migrating over to these other wonderful projects that still keep you within the same Blizzard ecosystem.
Sure. And the fear is still that they would see all this about the quicker turnaround time on faster expansions is all great and all, except the one thing we're forgetting, which is Blizzard is a company that does not release things if they're broken, or at least they attempt really hard not to. And they'll polish and polish and polish. It's one of their core values as a company. And we now live in a time of instant gratification and the need for a quicker turnaround on a game that requires a lot of manpower. I can say this, though. I don't remember the exact number that Corey told us today. I probably shouldn't even say this, but he said that, I don't remember the exact number, but basically he said there are not twice as many, but a huge number of people working on WoW right this second than there were a year ago at BlizzCon last year. So BlizzCon last year, there was whatever number there was, and right now there is this huge uptick in how many people are on that team. Not just from other internal teams, although that's true in some cases. I met the guy who's tonight who's doing the actual Demon Hunter, all the Demon Hunter stuff for Legion, which is super interesting, and he wouldn't say anything about anything, which kind of sucks. So that means probably tomorrow we'll hear a bunch, but you know, knowing that there's that much more manpower, maybe that's the answer. It's just let's increase the manpower. That helps our turnaround time, hopefully, and in theory we can get best of both worlds: fast turnaround time on new content, and not a drop in quality or attention to detail.
So when you say that the player base is aging, would you agree that as a whole we expect gratification at much shorter intervals?
Yeah. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that's part of why I was drawn to Heroes, is I'm getting a lot of the same things I get out of WoW that I like in the game currently, but I get it faster and easier.
And no trash. Well, minions, but no trash.
Yeah,
really.
no trash.
Yeah.
That's a big for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not so much about, I don't know if it's about instant gratification, but it's about the same itches being scratched for an aging player base that have busy lives, and it's much harder to donate a bunch of time, even though the irony is we're spending just as much time. Like he said, I don't want to raid and spend 2 hours raiding. I want to play this game I can play for 20 minutes that I play 8 times over. 20 minutes times 8, do the math, right?
It gets crazy.
Yeah.
So, like, are you basically stipulating that at a certain point, as you get older, there is a terminal point where you're going to want to stop playing video games? Do you think 20 or 30 years from now, you're still going to want to play video games?
Yeah, I do. I think video games are as a valid a medium as there has ever been. And we're just lucky to live in a time where that medium is being realized in really fantastic ways. But I don't think it's ever going to go away any more than games of all sorts have always existed, and no one's ever gotten. I mean, look at baseball. That thing's got longer legs than any sport ever, and it will probably always will. And you can have a million, steroid controversies and people, putting cork in bats or whatever. It doesn't matter. People keep coming back and they watch the game and they love it, and there's millions of dollars to be made, and baseball's a thing. And to me, it's like that. It's video games will be here to stay, and I will want to play them when I am a old, wrinkled, old man.
We might get made fun of for what we're playing.
No, sure.
We might be playing the equivalent of like Candy Crush in 20 years.
Probably. Maybe things will get a little more casual, and that's what we'll be interested in. But I
play Heroes. Go back to your baby game for babies.
But even in this beta for Overwatch, I've found that my old Twitch skills, and I don't mean Twitch.tv, I mean like my twitchy shooting skills from my Quake and Unreal days, which used to be formidable. I was pretty good, and we were, I could keep up with some of the best of them. Some of that stuff just leaves you. You just aren't as good at it. You just get older, and you're like, what? I'm dead? Okay. Like, you just kind of have to get back. I mean, part of it is just getting back to it and getting your skills back up. But I'll never be as good as I was when I was 22 at a game like that. So another reason to like Blizzard in this space is they're making core gamer games, but they're making core gamer games that are very easy for just about anybody to have fun with. At the baseline, it's fun. And then there's all kinds of layers of complexity if you want to really go for it and play on the professional level, or and everything in between. And that's true of Heroes. It's definitely true of Overwatch. That's maybe the best example of it. And even in Warcraft, it's the same. They've made it so you can just get into that thing and have fun. You understand the world. You get the story. You love the exploration. But if you want to go nuts and cap out on gear and be a complete freak, like Ro. Just kidding. I admire Ro. He's always getting the stuff done. Man, your garrisons were like... Plus, the game's being paid for by gold or something now, or whatever you're doing. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, you can be like Ro and totally just cream it. Like, he owns that game in so many ways. And they've just made that whole thing very accessible for all those different kind of skill types. And I think all their games do that. And thank goodness. And so, yeah, I will play their game. Blizzard makes games I want to play partially because they are thinking about those things. And not a lot of companies think about that stuff anymore.
One last thing. If you had to speculate on a Legion's release date, when do you think it might be?
Spring 2016.
On or before September 21st.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a really good question. The Gamescom announcement to me was a sign they wanted to beef up the time, to make the turnaround time quicker. If they announce betas tomorrow, which seems likely, of some sort, whether it's out then or soon or whatever, I think a spring release isn't crazy. And it sounds like they're a lot further down the road this time than they were last time.
I hope so. I'm really looking forward to Legion. Like, most people think, John doesn't like WoW anymore. And that's not true. I really like WoW. I'm just maybe not into what's currently going on, but I can't wait for what's coming next.
Yeah, whatever that may be, bring it. Even if it is Illidan for the 5th time, it's fine. Keep him coming. Any other questions out there? Anything at all that we can answer before we wrap things up? Oh, someone's coming toward the mic. That feels good. Nope,
Nope,
he's sitting
changed
down.
his mind, diverted.
Oh, got another row question.
Well, I just figured we got about like 10 or 15 minutes left. As far as predictions go, I mean, it kind of seems kind of a cliche thing, but what's the biggest takeaway that you think we'll get out of the whole opening ceremony thing besides, wow, that Warcraft movie trailer kicked ass?
I think the Warcraft movie trailer is going to be the big focus, obviously. I think everyone agrees with that. They've made too big of a deal out of it outside of BlizzCon and had all these, these dates are in everybody's mind so that they can all watch it. It's not just about us. That's going to be huge, and I'm totally stoked for that. That's going to be great, I hope. I predict that... Okay, let's stay with the movie for a second. I predict that movie... Oh, I really want it to be good. I'm not predicting it will be bad by any means. I don't know what to think, honestly. I really don't. We're talking about a genre in filmmaking that has traditionally been poopy scoop, right? The Doom movie. Stop me if you've heard any of these. Super Mario Brothers. Like, name a good video game movie, and the closest you'll get are things like...
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat, maybe.
That's all right. That's all right.
For 95, okay.
It's like a watered-down Enter the Dragon. Can we count Enter the Dragon?
No. I know they made a game later, but no. Well, they have a pinball machine.
I mean,
or
it's
something.
essentially Mortal Kombat, though.
Yeah, it kind of is.
It just misses a four-arm puppet.
And that's a good movie. Nobody will argue with you
Yeah.
there. So I can't really think of any good video game movies off the top of my head. That Max Payne thing was abysmal. Wing Commander was really, really bad. Future Film Sack, though, like in a week or two. Pretty excited about that.
Hold on, I got an idea.
All right.
You ready for a prediction?
Go.
This is gonna blow your mind.
I don't know if I'm ready. Am I ready?
Warcraft, the movie, the game.
Oh my God. Your blades of a dune aren't sharp enough.
Jean-Claude Van Damme plays Varian Wrynn.
All right, I'm in. So that was his last movie, wasn't it? Raul
It's
Julia's.
really sad.
That sucks. He was a good actor too. You never know what's going to happen. You take a junk role, could die the next week.
But we're still talking about that movie, so
That's a good point. It's garbage though. It's so bad.
it's really bad.
All those movies are bad. So the point is that there is a chance here for a crossover. Ultimately, video games owe so much of their roots to filmmaking. So films are so much. Video games steal from films all the time. It'd be nice to finally see one that goes back the other way and actually succeeds at what it sets out to do. So we probably all agree, despite all our biases, that this is the best chance they've had to get this right. My prediction about the movie is that we are all going to really like it, and that mainstream audiences might just think it's weird nerd movie that isn't Lord of the Rings. I'm a little worried about that. So just from a box office standpoint, and I'm not saying that's a good thing, it's a bad thing, but I'm worried about the marketing. I know that the game, World of Warcraft carries some weight. It's a cultural thing. It's a thing that's, but I just don't know if it's going to carry that weight the rest of us do. Even if it's a great film. Well, if it's a great film, that may break through a lot of that. But let's say it's just a good film that's right for WoW fans. Will
Then
that
you
be
get-
right for everybody else?
I don't know why they took the Hobbits out of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Where were the Hobbits?
Where did the hobbits go?
I don't like these CGI orc men.
There will definitely be CGI Orcmen. Yeah, see? They're taking the CGI Orcmen to Isengard. That's how the line went.
I'm more excited.
That
for
made
the
my
movie
wife
now.
laugh. You totally got that. That's awesome. I married way up. All right. Predictions about the game. I think Legion. I think tomorrow we find out a lot more about the game. I don't have specific predictions, but I predict we don't know a lot. I think they held a lot back. And when they did that final Q&A at Gamescom, that was kind of abysmal. That was like a weird. That wasn't them not having things to say. That was them being media trained not to say much else than what they'd already said. So I think there's plenty more coming out of that. What exactly? I really have no idea. Any predictions in that? You may have done some of this earlier.
I don't know. I think you're right. I think we haven't heard everything. I think we're going to see something really cool. Because I do think they've been kind of quiet, and they kept saying like, "Oh, well, you don't want to talk about everything yet." And so I'm really excited about what that extra stuff is, because I think it's big. I think it's bigger than we would expect it to be.
Do you guys think they'll show the cinematic tomorrow? I think it might. I don't think they will with the movie thing.
Well, not only that, but usually the cinematic is like 1 or 2 months away from the release of the game, and they announce.
That's usually closer, yeah. Well, unless my timeline idea is right and they're doing these things early. And I would have totally predicted it if it weren't for the movie trailer. But with the movie trailer, it seems weird to me because there's going to be a disconnect between the two. You know, one is a very stylized Blizzard created thing that's very different, not very different, but different enough from what we're seeing from that movie that I don't know. I think it would clash. Like there'd be a weird disconnect there. So I don't think they're going to do that.
Do you think the cinematic ends with Illidan saying something about being prepared?
I think he says, "I'm finally prepared.
I'm prepared.
I'm prepared. Let's do this."
I've been cooking in that crystal for enough time. I am prepared.
I predict that this will be a redemption story for Illidan. I know that's a commonly held prediction, but I'm really for that. I don't think you make him the ultimate bad guy to kill again. I think he ends up being redeemed in some way.
It'd be kind of a shrug, right? You go up to the top of a tower and he's just like, "Well, here we are.
I'm prepared."
You're you, I'm me. Feel like we've done this before.
I just don't think he's raid boss again, that's all. Or if he is, it's at the end of it we get kind of a... If he dies again, it's more of a Darth Vader death, and you have a weird, pasty, bald man with a harmonica underneath. Okay, maybe not quite that similar.
This sounds fantastic.
And then I think this is the year that they make the biggest deal out of esports. Sadly, WoW won't be included as much in that, but I think they're going to make a huge deal out of it with that acquisition, or not acquisition, but basically a new company being formed by Activision Blizzard and them hiring XESPN and MGL or MLG co-founder guy. That's a huge deal. And it mostly benefits Blizzard immediately. It does some things for Activision, but mostly Blizzard. So I feel like we're going to get presented a bunch of esports hype tomorrow.
I already feel it. I'm so excited for the Heroes Finals.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Cannot wait.
I might have an interview during that time. Soak it in, buddy.
You were not prepared.
I was not prepared. Blizzard just sent me an itinerary, said, "Hey, a 4:30 meeting during that." I'm like, gosh dang it. Anyway, anything else? Anyone else have any other questions before we sum things up? We're about on time, right? Oh, perfect. Oh. No, Terpster texted me, says he'll meet me at bowling, so I'm going to the bowling alley here in a minute. It's the British, really. It's the problem.
The British are not coming.
No. Well said. If you see him in the street, you'll know it because it's him looking like a mother hen, and then those Yogscast guys following him around wherever he goes. So it's easy to pick Terpster out in a crowd. Anyway, I just wanted to, in sort of closing here, just talk about, and it was made really plain to me earlier at this meetup upstairs, how cool and how awesome the community is in and around what Blizzard makes and does. But it really does come down to all of us as individuals. And I love that we're in a podcasting community where there's a lot of cooperation, a lot of cross-promotion, a lot of interest in what each other is doing, a lot of guesting on each other's shows. It's how we get to meet each other. If I hadn't raided with this team or listened to Azeroth Roundtable a couple of times, back in the day. I still listen occasionally now. I'm not saying I don't listen.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. I wouldn't have met John, and he wouldn't have cracked me up, and that wouldn't have led to this thing we call the core, and like all these weird connections that get made. I can almost point all of them back to WoW in some way. It's really weird. Like even my relationship with Brian Ibbett and our show TMS, which is now I think the show that gets the biggest downloads on the network, right next to the Instance. They're all kind of tied. He and I have got this incredible relationship, a friendship I value beyond words, and a working relationship that gives me something I love to do every day. And I met him because he listened to The Instance, because he started getting into World of Warcraft, and all of that turned into this relationship. And I could keep telling you about these people, and it would just keep going, and they all have this weird trail back to either Warcraft or Blizzard in some way. And I know a lot of you have a similar story to tell, and I'm just really glad that exists, and I'm glad that we have that. That's something that feels special, and I feel like when I'm on my deathbed at 50 or whatever, let's say 87. I like that. 87 is a good, nice number. Let's say I'm laying there and kids are all around going, "He's not leaving us anything, is he?" I will look back and go, man, what a rad thing that was. And hopefully it was a thing that continued forward and didn't end all that much before that day. Like, I don't want that stuff to end. I have so many friendships and relationships that came from that I don't ever want to see not be a part of my life. So I know they're not here to express similar feelings, but I know my co-hosts feel that way from The Instance. I know that, we just feel like it's a privilege to do what we do, and to have people listen and to be interested, and just really grateful for that. So thank you everybody here for being part of that world, part of that vibrant podcasting community that speaks in all these unique voices so that so many unique ears can hear it and find their place and find this weird thing and these relationships that we find. It's pretty rad. So thanks for letting me talk to you today. Thanks for hanging out tonight, and enjoy the rest of the con. See ya. Thanks, John.